Good morning, Ian Quick, Millionaire by 50. Today is Thursday, July 30th. Almost the end of the month. Another beautiful day. I want to continue a bit with yesterday's discussion. Yesterday we spoke about how you focus on service and not on money to generate client loyalty, to generate a better brand, and to essentially work long term for your goals. I know when I first started this about a month ago, it was more about mindsets and energies. I seem to be more about specifics now, and it'll be fluctuating back and forth like that. But right now, I want to deal about a factual which actually takes its roots in mindset and energy things. It's about dealing with negative clients. Um, there's a current popular term right now called a Karen. I don't like that term. I don't like that term because I actually know some women named Karen who are actually very, very wonderful women. And it's a new derogatory label. We are trying to be more inclusive, less offensive, and stop using labels. There are certain racial slurs that we just don't use anymore because we understand the power of words and how harmful they can be and what these words represent. So replacing them with a new kind of thing like Karen doesn't help. Um, so I would refer to these people as what they actually are, is um, people who have an overblown sense of entitlement. I mean, we are sometimes entitled to certain things depending on circumstances. But when people demand things that they're not entitled to and make a big fuss over it and have an overblown sense of importance, this is the attitude that should not be encouraged. And this is often the attitude that businesses have to deal with. There are clients out there who are unscrupulous and they will do whatever they can to get an upper hand and gain an advantage and make a big public outcry if it doesn't happen. Essentially shame their way into a service or cause so much trouble, people just would rather shut them up and give in to their demands. Imagine the kind of energy this is generating. It's absolutely horrible. A friend of mine, his ex-wife, was like that. Not to get into the details, but that's one of the reasons she's an ex-wife. Uh, this was a person who reveled in complaining about stuff. Always a victim, always an imagined victim, I should really say, because really there was no victimhood happening here. But I was a victim of the industry. Everybody's trying to put her down, to screw her over, and would make outrageous demands to be compensated for her troubles when there were really no troubles at all. We know the type. I've seen this woman in her natural habitat, her household, and she was the same way. The energy this lifestyle, this attitude creates is just so negative, and it encompasses everything around her, and it sucks the life out of everything. It sucks the joy out of everything. It was to a point where I did not hang out much with this friend for a while because I could not stand being around her. If we had an occasion where we could just be the guys, great. But when it was a couples thing, um, we didn't want anything to do with it. My wife was just like, I don't like her. I don't want to be around her. I once, unfortunately, made the mistake of leaving my wife and her alone for about 20 minutes while me and my friend had gone out to run a quick errand. And when we got back home later, she said, never leave me alone with this woman again. Um, Now, what kind of power do you think this attracts? What kind of vibrations does it set out for your peace of mind, for what you're trying to accomplish? Does she get stuff? Yeah, she does on occasion because a lot of people are too fearful to deal with it. But this stuff is tainted. It's with the bad energy, and this is not benefits that are willingly given. These are benefits that are grudgingly um, let go. Not a good thing. If you're running a business, you will eventually deal with someone like that. It's inevitable. I'm sure a lot of you who would ever watch this one day will be like, oh yeah, I've known people like that. Do not give in to their demands. Call them out on their attitude. Will they make a fuss? Sure. Will they learn something? Probably not. Actually, they will learn one thing. They will learn that their tactics do not work on you. And if they threaten to leave bad reviews and all that stuff, go right ahead, let them. And then respond calmly, professionally, and do what happened. And how you're nurturing a positive place of work and that kind of attitude, that kind of undeserved entitlement has no place. I reward kindness with kindness. When a client treats my staff with respect, treats me with respect, and makes it a positive environment, I will go out of my way to give them that little extra something sometimes. And it's happened on occasion. Oh no, there's a delay, this. That's okay. I will happily delay, schedule permitting, of course, and stick around and make sure you get the best darn service possible. If you are one of these entitled people, you'd be like, I'm sorry, you're scheduled from 2 to 3. It's now 3 o'clock. I have to leave. It's just that simple. When you generate bad energies, confrontation and hostility and threats, I will respond by giving you nothing more than we are contractually obligated to give you. I will give you the bare minimum because you gave me the bare minimum of yourself. You gave me the base of yourself. And that's what nature provides, right? That's what the universe provides. Vibrate at a level, attract a certain level. If you vibrate with a low energy, you will get a low energy service. Um, it's really that simple. Side note related to this, um, some clients are sometimes abusive to staff. I will never, ever permit that. And will always stand up for my staff first. There's an old saying, I never really understood how this came to be popular, but there was an old saying the customer is always right. And I remember back when I was working at retail, this is like over 25, 30 years ago. I worked at a store in a shopping center called Music World. They sold CDs and stuff back when CDs was still a thing, really. And at one point, there was a general meeting that pretty much every store in the mall was invited to. Typically, managers went, but our manager was busy, didn't want to go, and he trusted me, and he asked me to go. And it was just really about procedures and stuff like that. And somebody spoke about this customer's always right thing. And they said, that's not true. Customers can be wrong. And when you acknowledge a customer's right when they're wrong, what you are telling your staff who is right is that they are not valued. That you value horrible people who don't know what they're talking about over trusted staff. And what that does is it makes the staff want to leave. And this is true. Um, I've known my staff for years. I trust my staff. And if I get a story that's conflicting between a staff member and a client, I will believe the stuff. I'm reminded of a story. This happened, I'd say probably about 8 years ago, maybe even 10. I had a very, very young staff member. When I first hired this kid, I took him on. Uh, he was only 15, but he was a very, very talented magician, and he had a lot of potential for other stuff. I taught him how to twist balloons, and he was very, very good. And at this point, he'd been with me for about 2 years, so he was probably 17, maybe not quite 17 yet. I sent him to this party where the client didn't want to pay him at the end. He said, "Come on, this was terrible, blah, blah, blah." He says, I'll give you half in cash for you to just get away and not do anything. Otherwise, we'll leave bad reviews and all this. Basically, this guy was just being a bully, seeing a kid he could take advantage of. He was one of these entitled people. So I had trained my staff that whenever there's issues um, that are beyond their ability to resolve, to just call me. This is why I'm management. So he leaves the house and calls me, and I get in touch with the client. And the client starts to rant and rave over the phone about how terrible this guy, blah, blah, blah. I've seen this young guy work personally, time after time. We often work together certain events. This was a balloon twisting event. I knew the quality of his work, and I had received nothing but praise from clients in the past. So I knew this guy was making this stuff up, and I didn't take it. And I called him out on it and all this. I had to go to the house personally to confront him because he hung up on me on the phone. I had the address. So I went to the house, and you could tell the wife was very embarrassed in the background. She was just like, pay the man. So finally, he sent me, um, he gave me the fees and this whole attitude of never again. And I was like, that's all right, sir. We've made a note in your file to never do parties for you again, as this was really an abusive situation. Thank you for your time, and we feel sorry for your child who has to put up with your attitudes. That's what it was. I did not let my staff get abused. I did not say, oh, the customer's right. Just if he says you were terrible, you must have been terrible. No. And I would not allow that negative energy to affect my staff. Now, after this happened, I called my young staff, and I gave them blow-by-blow descriptions of what happened, and you know, how, I got the full fee out of them because this is what was owed. The guy had even threatened at one point, says, "I'm going to leave you a bad review." Like, that's your prerogative, sir. He never did. He knew he'd been called out on his bluff. Um, but that young man, the staff member, was very appreciative that I took his side because it was the right side. And I had great loyalty from this guy. He's no longer staff member anymore. He moved away, and at one point decided he wanted to do something else in life. He's a restaurateur now, and apparently quite a good one. And I wish him well. But the point is, don't allow this energy into your workspace. This is not what you will attract. The beauty of it is, with the attitude we generally have in our business and the vibration we're putting out there, we get entitled clients like that. Maybe at most once every year, once every second year. That's about it. Great. This is not an issue we normally deal with because this is not what we're putting out there. And that's just important. On that note, let's move on to gratitudes. am grateful that tonight, even though it's Thursday night, I get to hang out with my best friend. I haven't seen him in a few weeks. It's going to be nice. I'm grateful for a beautiful morning. Um, my wife, my daughter, and I will probably be going for a swim at the local pond later. Yay! And I'm grateful um, for once again the opportunities that today will bring. Yesterday brought opportunity of booked a new client for a gig. Who knows what'll happen today? On that note, see you tomorrow.